Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to be here. This is so cool.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming today, especially. Well, I'll introduce us and then I'll kind of introduce you a little bit more too, but we've read the book. So not only did Ellyce write this book, but she has her own podcast, Dopamine Dollars, and is the founder of Queered Co., a financial literacy company, and just does really amazing work. And we're so glad you're here. I'm Elsa, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the program coordinator here at the Financial Wellness Center at the U. And then we'll go around and all of us can introduce ourselves because it's a smaller group.
Hi, I'm Elisa God, and my pronouns is she, her, and I'm a peer mentor uh, for the Financial Wellness Center. So,
Nice to meet you.
And hi, I'm
Go
Jessica,
ahead.
a first year student at the U. And
That's great.
okay, that's it.
Hi, I'm Cindy. This is my second year here at the U. I'm studying social work, and I really enjoyed your book. So I'm excited to be able to talk to you.
Thank you. That's so nice. I'm so excited to be here. This is, yeah, really awesome for me too.
Thanks. And if you have anything else you want to introduce about yourself before we dive into questions, feel free to do so.
No, I think you did a great introduction.
Okay, well, we can just start going around asking questions.
Okay. One of my questions is, what's something you wish you'd known before writing this book?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, I think I would say how little support you get from the publishing industry. I think I had like I traditionally publish with like a big five publisher, and so I was kind of like under the impression that they would be helping me through that process, but it was like a very lonely, isolating process. It was like very difficult, and yeah, it's as an author, it's pretty much up to you to do everything yourself, like all of yeah, the marketing, the editing, the like a lot of stuff. And I was constantly having to advocate for myself. And it was very interesting, like writing this book and them knowing that I'm neurodivergent, but then I felt like there was a lot of ableism like in the publishing industry. So I wish I just was like maybe a little bit more prepared. I think I had like rose-colored glasses going into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm preparing a second book now and I feel a lot differently. I just feel like I know kind of who I want to work with and what that would look like a second time around, and I feel like a lot better equipped going into it.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess my question is just like, how did you learn to like ask for help or get comfortable asking for help?
Oh yeah. Wow, these are such good questions. Honestly, I would say like there's not really a easy answer to this. For me, it was mostly just practice. And I think I had to start with like very uh things that like I wasn't really emotionally attached to. So like asking for help in smaller ways, rather than like asking for help with my money right off the bat. Like that was something that would be that'd be way too overwhelming for me at the beginning. So it'd be more so like, um, I'm trying to think of an example, like even just like, um, this is kind of a weird example, but like asking for help, like making dinner, or like asking for help, like even just like picking out, like getting their opinion on something, like, oh, which sweater do you think I should get? Or can you help me decide how to do this? And things like that, that felt like easier things to ask for. And then as I built up confidence doing that, I was able to kind of ask for more help. And I think that I've had a really big mindset shift over the last few years because I think there's kind of this narrative in society that we should be really independent, and especially in like America, North America, it's like it's really this hyper independence is really pushed upon us. And so there's a lot of like therapy talk around like being too codependent on people, and that like if you say no to helping people, you're like setting boundaries and like things like that. And I've really just realized that being neurodivergent, and I consider myself disabled because my neurodivergence is debilitating for me. So being like disabled, I need to rely on other people. And I think that that community and that support is like crucial to my well-being. And so I've kind of had to also reframe how I feel about community and support, and like, yeah, just doing that differently, because I think the hyper independence doesn't work for a lot of um, disabled, chronically ill, neurodivergent people.
Yeah, and we were talking before this about how we love how like vulnerable you are throughout the whole book, and I really resonate with a lot of what you just said. So like we all really appreciated that throughout the book. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I
It
think
was
I want
scary, but we did it.
no, because yeah, like Alyssa said, we were, or sorry, Elsa said we were talking about that. And like, I don't know, for me personally, I struggle so much with like admitting that I failed at something. Um, and just seeing how you talk about the struggles you've been through, like I don't know, it's really reassuring. So I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to touch on what you just talked about how it's difficult for neurodivergent people to ask for help because of this idea that we need to be independent, and I totally resonate with that. But I think that also applies to like um different cultures. Like I'm
Totally.
Mexican, and you also like touch on that in this book, how like a
Mhm.
lot of different cultures um like they were expected to like within our families we're supposed to like help our families a lot, but then like take for America for example, like it's a very individualistic country, so then you're like frowned upon or looked down upon if you are like you rely on your family for support. So
Mhm.
I really appreciate what you said.
Yeah, and that's like very similar to Parween's story in the book, the South Asian woman, of like the supporting your family financially is like something that was so important to her, but then like Western culture is very much like you should you should be financially stable yourself first before like helping your family and like that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, definitely a cultural thing as well. That like so many cultures around the world have a lot more of a um like supportive, I don't, well, maybe not supportive, but like a lot more, I guess, codependent family and friendship dynamics. And it's like very normalized throughout the world. But then for some reason in North America, it has,
Yeah.
yeah, it's become this thing like you need to do everything yourself and struggle yourself and not help anyone else. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
sucks. But I really appreciate everything you said.
thank you.
Yeah, I in your book you talk about when you were creating your business, how that time where you were seeing other financial um, advisors as well, I guess that's the word.
Like content creators.
Yeah, they they have maybe more experience and more, how do you or what helped you to keep going? Because you talk about, you wouldn't have your company right now if you didn't keep going. So what helped you in that in those moments?
Yeah, so I think this is also like a reframe for me, because I used to kind of have that comparison mindset of like, well, I'm never going to be able to do what this person is doing for all of these reasons. And it takes me longer to do things, it takes me longer to understand things. I just don't have as much capacity. I can't really work 8-hour days, things like that. But I basically I would say that majority of the shift came from like immersing myself in safe spaces for me. So like a lot of like neurodivergent safe spaces, queer safe spaces, and like really understanding my own identity and like having community with those identities. But really that's helped me embrace the kind of mindset of like, yeah, it's going to take me longer, but that doesn't mean that I still can't achieve that thing. Like, I'm probably going to need more help. I'm going to need more tools. And actually, I'm probably going to have to do it a different way. then I see all these people before me doing things in their business, but that doesn't mean that I can't still get to that point. And it doesn't mean that I can't still find success and like my own definition of success. And I say that would play into it too. Like in the book, I talk about redefining success for you. And I think that's also a huge piece, because if you're comparing yourself to others and really measuring yourself based on their definition of success, then like you're never going to measure up, basically, because the goalpost is always moving and there's always going to be something else for you to achieve, and there's always going to be someone doing, better. So really figuring out like, what does success mean to you? And for me, that ultimately resulted in me realizing like I don't want like a 15-person company. I like simply cannot handle that. I can't manage that many people. I have a hard time even having like one contract employee. So like I realized like I don't want like a multi-million-dollar company with like 15 employees. I just want to be comfortable, and I just want to be making enough money to be comfortable, and then to be able to hopefully make extra that I can give back to my community and give back to other people. So that's like, changing that definition also helps, because when I see people online running their businesses and seeing their success, I can be like, that's amazing, but like I actually don't want that. So like I
Yeah.
love that for them, but like I'm not jealous, because it's not, pursuing that isn't going to get me to where I actually want to be.
Thank you. I like when you said safe spaces, because I think we forget sometimes, like it's very important. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple questions, but I'll start with one. What are the cool money conversation cards that some of the folks in your community were talking about in the book for like having conversations around money?
The conversation cards.
Yeah, it was like in the a chapter on like relationships, and some of them said they'd found like cards that they were using to help talk about money.
Oh, I don't even know off the top of
Sorry
my
to put
head.
you on the spot.
Let me look. It might have been like the fair play cards. That's like the first one
Okay.
that's coming to my mind. That's like
Okay.
about domestic labor, but I'm looking right now. Oh yeah, fair play cards. Yeah,
Okay.
that was it.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Eve Rodsky, has the Fair Play book as well, and they have cards. The one thing I will say about the cards is that there's like, I don't know if there's an option now to order this separately, but in the main deck, there's like a huge portion of cards that are related to having children. So if you don't have
Okay.
children, there's like a big part of the deck that isn't necessarily applicable, but they might have changed that now. So there might be a version that is like without children that you could buy.
Okay.
Or you can change it between put pets and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yes. I like that. Okay, thank you. And then my other question is, when did you start implementing your 5-account system into your life, and what sparked that?
Oh my gosh, like, oh, let me think. I guess the first iteration of it was where I just had an allowance card.
Mhm.
And that was probably like, oh, I'm really bad at like years. Um, Probably like 2019 or 2020. And no, probably 2020. Yeah. And then I saw how helpful that was for me to have that like separation. And I don't know, that just kind of sparked the idea that like maybe I should have more separation. And then I also um read the book Profit First, which is specifically about business finances. But he has like an account system that he like has like, I don't know, a profit account and an operating expense account. And like I also took inspiration from that system. And I was like, how could I apply this to like my personal life? And yeah, so then that was probably implemented, I feel like 2020, 2021. Sorry, I'm really bad at like remember the years all blend together, especially since the pandemic started. I feel like it's all just one chunk of year. But yeah, I implemented that, and it's been like I still have the same system today, and it works amazing for me.
Thank you so much. I also do something similar. So I have like a debit card specifically for fun money and then like my different buckets, and we've been talking about that a lot. Thanks.
Yeah. I don't know
Um,
if I put this, oh, I think I did put it in the relationship section of the book, but I do also have like a joint spending card with my partner now too, and we use that for like groceries and gas and like expenses like that, where we either of us could be the one like spending that money. So we just like put it in the account together, and then we both have our own cards for it. So yeah, that's been something that's also been really helpful, because that way, like if you have a thing that like either of you could go grocery shopping, then it's like you both have access to that money easily.
Thanks.
okay, so you mentioned in the book how you grew up going to church a lot, kind of religious. So, obviously, if this is too personal, don't answer. But what's been your experience like to kind of distance yourself from the church? And how has that affected your relationships, whether it be like with your family, friends, things like that?
Yeah, so I grew up going to church every Sunday for like my entire life. The only time that I like wasn't kind of forced to go to church was near the end of grade 12, because I also did competitive gymnastics, and one of my training days ended up being like Sunday morning. So then I went to training instead of church. And I feel like for me, I always had kind of a tumultuous relationship with the church, because I was very much like was forced to go. It was never like a choice in my family. And I felt like, um, I just felt like because my parents didn't give me a choice, especially when I got older, I kind of resented them for it, and I kind of resented the church a bit. And then I just basically stopped going to church after I graduated and moved out, and I didn't have to go anymore, and I just kind of distanced myself there. And then especially when I like realized I was queer and came out as queer, that I feel like for me also created more of a divide. So I not necessarily like I wouldn't say I was like super intertwined with the church as an adult. But yeah, luckily for me, my parents are very like progressive, well educated, and are constantly learning and educating themselves and like keeping up with things. And I think that really helped them be more open. There definitely was still like a struggle, especially with my mom when I came out to them. But it was something that like we were able to work through. And my mom since has now actually like been doing a lot of work in the church about like making it more LGBTQ plus friendly. And like they actually have a pastor now that has a trans son. And so like that's done a lot for the church. So that's been like amazing to see. But other than that, like I would say most of my relationships just I kind of cut off those relationships when I left the church. And yeah, for me, like I consider myself now more like spiritual, but I think that my perspective on it is that like the church is not necessary to engage in your religion, but it can be a great source of community and support if you have like a church that is supportive. But I think if you have a church that is in any way like discriminatory to your identity, then that can also be like a really harmful place and can affect your relationship with religion. Sorry, I'm like rambling now, but
No, it's okay.
yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess that would be my answer. I have kind of like a strained relationship with my extended family. And I've never really been super close to them. And then my parents, luckily, like we've been able to like work through a lot of that, and they've been super supportive. But yeah, that's been my journey.
Yeah, thank you. Because we live in Utah, which is predominantly LDS. It's a very religious state. So I feel like I just observed that a lot with my friends. So I was just curious. So thank you for answering.
Yeah.
Question. Um,
Okay, but yeah, thank you for sharing, and it's always good to hear like everyone's different perspectives So we appreciate sharing that. I have one final question, but I want to open it up if anyone else has any comments, or Ellyce, if you have anything else you want to talk about.
I guess like, I don't know, can I ask a question?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to know like what your favorite part of the book was.
Oh,
Oh, that is a hard
so
one.
many.
Is
I guess mine was the whole chapter about what was it? Mother Knows Best. So it's like all about like how your culture influences your financial decisions like that. I feel like my identity, my like ethnic identity really plays such a huge part. So it was just really it was reassuring to read comments from other other people of color who also struggle with their like family and their personal finances. So I really appreciated that. And I really appreciated that you included yeah, comments from like people of color who struggle with these things. I really liked how you had like firsthand experiences there.
I'm so happy to hear that. That was like something that was so important to me from the beginning. I was like in my book proposal, I said there's going to be interviews with people that have very different backgrounds and experiences than me in every chapter, because I very much like, I didn't want someone to pick up the book and if they didn't resonate with my story, they like couldn't see themselves. I really wanted them to be able to like feel seen and heard and understood in at least some of the stories in the book. So I'm like so happy to hear that that was
You did
impactful.
a great job on that throughout the whole book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I really liked the financial sidebars that kept popping up. And I think like just along with that, the whole structure of the book really like clicked in a nice way in my head, which I appreciated just because like it was a book I was able to pick up, and like I'm a bad reader in general and it's hard to have that habit. But I did find myself kind of just getting like lost within it in a good way though, and like being able to follow along how there wasn't just like blocks of words and then there was lots of different graphics and like pop-ups, so it was a lot better to like process all the information like that and like see other people's experiences and see my experiences reflected, but as well as like yours and others.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that.
something that I like was when you help the reader go through how to identify our values. Because I hear a lot about values, right? We it's kind of like we hear that, but then sometimes it's like I like how you went like thinking about what things we don't like or situations that we didn't like and why. You know, and it really make me like I don't know, like kind of like think about a little more about why I and what my values are. That was one part, and I think I don't know if it was the same chapter, but I think that was the part that and the one that she talked about different cultures. I really like that you incorporate different views through the whole book, so that was good.
I
Yeah,
think
that's awesome. Oh, sorry.
I think my favorite part was probably the generational divide. I really resonated with so much in there. And I loved how you explained all of the different like historical pivots and shifts. Because obviously I lived through those, but at some of them I was really young, so it was cool to get to hear it all explained. And I think it was helpful to break down some of my own like the internalized like pressure that I put on myself. So I appreciated that. But I also really enjoyed the structure and how the book was laid out, like you said.
I'm so happy to hear that you all enjoyed the structure, because that was like that was one of my fights with the publisher.
It was really
that I
good.
won, but
Yeah, I'm so glad you won because it made
Yeah.
the book
Yeah.
it made it so unique and really accessible.
Yeah, very accessible.
I'm gonna send them a strongly worded email telling them.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I have anecdotal evidence now.
Exactly. You have 4 people right here who agree with you, all right?
Yeah,
We got your back.
Okay, Well, my last question for you, Elise, is what are your final 2 cents for college students on their financial wellness journeys?
Yeah, this is a big one. This is a hard one. I feel like some of the like peak of my financial struggles were while I was in university, so I very much like I feel very strongly about this. I would say one, I feel like you're all already doing this work because you literally read the book, but just in general, like understanding your money story and like where some of your habits and behaviors and mindset came from, whether that's like from your childhood or from like the way that you interact with like the world or lived experiences that you've had, like understanding that, and also understanding like how your brain works when it comes to money and finances. And I think like the earlier that you can begin to understand that, like the more that you just set yourself up for success when you graduate. And yeah, oh my gosh, I just can't, I can not imagine how different my life would be if I had like more understanding of that when I was younger. And I would also say like more compassion for myself, because like university is just wild. It is very much designed, um, it's like completely hustle culture. Like it's a very like ableist, and I'm like can't pull the words right now. I've had a tough mental health day, so my brain's not working very well today. But um, basically, the whole way that college is set up is it's very much like unrealistic standard of how much work you need to do, and like all the classes you have to balance, and you have to balance like social life and finances and going to class and getting your homework done and like meeting all these expectations. And so I think just like having compassion for yourself, that like it's a lot to handle and it's a lot for anyone. And in terms of like tangible tips, I think the allowance card is an amazing one. Like having a separate fun spending card that like you can still prioritize spending money on yourself and spending money on things that you enjoy and that can allow you to connect with people and like get out of the dorm or the house and like do something fun. That can be really helpful. I would also say like if you are living off student loans, like putting that money into a high yield savings account and setting up like automatic transfers as like a paycheck to yourself, because trying to manage like a giant lump sum of money for like the whole semester or for the whole year, like that's very difficult to do, and it's like very easy to overspend in that amount. So like yeah, putting it in a out of sight, out of mind high yield savings account, and then setting up like automatic transfers. So it's if you're getting like a regular monthly, or even you could do like weekly or bi-weekly paychecks. So that can help you you can do the math ahead of time to figure out how that would be split up. Um, in terms of like student loans, if you're able to even start making like a $25 a month payment, that can make a big difference in terms of like your principal balance when you graduate and the amount of interest you'll end up paying. But yeah, I think it's just being in university is hard. So the biggest thing I think is just being kind to yourself and just like experimenting with what works for you. Like this is the time to really figure out, um, you know, more about who you are and what type of systems work for you, which systems don't work for you, and throw away what anyone says about what you should be doing when it comes to studying, when it comes to time management, when it comes to your money, and like really focus on like what is best suited for you and like what is supporting you. Because I feel like there's so much noise and opinions about the best way to do things, and like the best way is always the way that works for you.
I love all of that so much. Thank you so much, Elise.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. I'm honestly like I'm so honored that you read the book for the book study, and it's been like I mentioned, it's a very kind of lonely experience, and so like being able to connect with people that read the book and enjoyed the book is just like it means the world to me. So I'm so grateful to all of you.
Oh,
Yes, of
thank
course.
you. Okay, take care. Have a good night.
You too. Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, if I
Oh, maybe stop recording first.
stop, okay.
Yeah. Just to be sure you.
Okay. That was amazing.
She's so
Stop.
sweet.
I know. Okay. Wait, okay, you'll receive an email notification. Okay,